In a world where strength was the only currency, Darius was just an ordinary soldier. Born in a remote village with no great lineage or epic deeds to be remembered, he joined the army in the hope of conquering something greater for himself. But what he didn't know was that his destiny was about to be shaped by something much darker, something he could never have imagined, a betrayal that would change his life forever. Are you ready to find out how Darius turned his pain into power, and what he lost along the way? Darius wasn't the strongest soldier nor the most skilled, but he had something that made him different from the others. He possessed unwavering determination. Even when his battle companions mocked his lack of skills, and when his superiors despised him for his weakness, he kept fighting, day after day, believing that one day he could prove himself worthy. It was this dream that kept him going, fighting in battles that weren't his own and facing enemies who seemed far stronger than he could ever imagine. But life has a cruel way of breaking even the strongest. During a crucial mission for the Empire, where enemy forces were a step away from attacking the capital, Darius was once again called to serve. On the night before the decisive battle, he heard a whisper in his ear, "This will be your last mission." He didn't know what it meant, but he ignored the feeling, trusting in his battle companions. What he didn't know, however, was that everything was about to change. When the battle began, the troops were high, morale was up, and everyone was fighting fiercely. But something was wrong. At a critical moment in the fight, when victory was almost in their grasp, Darius was betrayed by those he trusted the most. His own comrades, who had fought by his side for so long, turned their swords on him. They left him to die. They abandoned him in the middle of the battlefield, gravely injured, with nothing left to lose. The field was littered with bodies, and the sound of steel and screams seemed to echo in his ears as he fell, bleeding. But even in his pain, Darius couldn't understand why he was betrayed. He had given everything for them, and now, in his darkest moments, no one was there to help him. They had dragged him to this end to ensure the success of the mission, but instead of honoring him, they had used him as a pawn and left him behind. With blurred vision and a broken body, he thought that death was a blessing, but somehow he didn't die. He woke up in a dark place, unlike anything he had ever known. There was something strange in the air, a sense of growing power, something Darius had never experienced before. He was alone but no longer weak. He felt a presence, an energy surrounding him. His wounds had healed, and he felt different. It was then that he realized that something else had happened. What once seemed like a simple and useless combat system that he had learned throughout his life was now a power he could control. Every scar on his body, every pain he had felt, now became a source of strength. He was no longer weak, he was becoming stronger with every passing second. And the most surprising part, the power was fueled by the pain, the anger, and the betrayal he had suffered. The system that had manifested within him strengthened him, giving him abilities beyond anything he had ever imagined. With every battle he fought, with every moment of suffering and anguish, the power within him grew. His anger turned into power. He learned to control this energy, to use it to enhance his combat skills, to become an unstoppable force. He knew that he was becoming more than just a soldier. He was becoming a weapon. And with this power, not only would he survive, but he would avenge all the moments of pain he had faced. But as his power grew, something else was happening to Darius. He was no longer the man who once believed in honor and justice. He was losing something essential on his journey. With every new power he acquired, with every new enemy defeated, a part of his humanity faded away. He felt he was distancing himself from the man he used to be. The thirst for vengeance, the need to pay back those who had caused him suffering, began to consume his mind. He no longer knew where his humanity ended and where the monster he was becoming began. When the time came to confront those who had betrayed him, Darius had no doubts. He knew his life would be dedicated to this mission. His betrayers, now in positions of great power, never expected him to return. To them, Darius was a man who was already dead. But at that moment, Darius was more alive than ever. He found them in an imposing palace, filled with luxury and wealth, as they celebrated, believing everything was under control. When Darius entered, his cold gaze and massive presence silenced them all. They realized too late the mistake they had made in underestimating him. The battle that followed was brutal. Each of the traitors who had once been his battle brothers fell before his newly acquired strength. Darius did not kill them with blind hatred. He defeated them with the coldness of a man who had waited his whole life for this moment. Every strike, every move he made was laden with calculated and meticulous vengeance. In the end, he stood, watching the chaos around him. His enemies were defeated, dead, or kneeling before him, begging for their lives. Darius did not feel the satisfaction he had imagined. He did not feel the peace of having fulfilled his mission. He felt nothing. The emptiness he had tried to fill with power, with vengeance, seemed bigger than ever. He had won, but victory did not heal his wounds. Vengeance did not bring the peace he had expected. Instead, he found himself more alone than ever. He realized that the strength he had gained was not enough to fill the emptiness in his heart. Each death, each defeated enemy, seemed only to increase the feeling of desolation within him. The revenge he had longed for was not the key to his happiness. He was now stronger than he had ever imagined, but also more lost and empty. Darius, the man who had become a legend of vengeance and power, was now facing a new battle, an internal one. He could continue his solitary journey, letting his anger and hatred consume him until the end of his days. Or he could try to find a new reason to live, something beyond power and vengeance. But even as he reflected on this, he knew he would never be the same man as before. He had lost himself along the way, and perhaps, somewhere, the man he could have been would never return. All that remained was Darius, the broken and powerful man who had become a legend of vengeance, but now faced the greatest enemy of all, himself. Thus he continued his journey, stronger, more powerful, but also emptier. He had conquered the world, but lost his soul in the process. And peace. Peace, he knew, would never be found again. And so Darius found himself at the height of his vengeance, stronger than he had ever imagined, but also emptier than he could bear. He had conquered the world, but lost his soul in the process. But the question that remains is, does power really bring the peace we seek? Or does it, in the end, destroy us from within? If you liked this story and want to see more adventures like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Leave your like, share it with your friends so they can also discover this journey of vengeance and pain, and leave your comment with your opinion. What do you think of Darius? Did he make the right choice, or was his pursuit of power and vengeance his downfall? We're curious to know what you think. See you in the next video where a new story of power and betrayal will be waiting for you. Don't miss it.